All right, so some more using our big M method. And so we're supposed to minimize and maximize this subject to our constraints here. So to minimize what we have to do, so to minimize p equals a minus 4x1 plus 16x2, what we have to do is we have to convert that into maximize. And now we're going to say t, and that's equal to what? Well, that's a minus p, which is equal to a 4x1 minus 16x2. Okay, so now we have the max. So we're going to say, okay, well, max t is equal to that 4x1 minus 16x2. And now we're going to leave a space because we're going to probably have a constraint over here that we're going to have to do something with. And so now we say, okay, well, subject to, and now we have 3x1 plus x2 plus, now we add our slack, and that's going to be equal to 28. Now, because this one's the opposite direction, what we have to do is we're going to have x1 plus 2x2, and then we're going to subtract off our surplus. We're going to add in our artificial, and that's going to be equal to 16. So now we had it added here, so now we have to subtract it off up here. And so now we've got all the variables x1, x2, s1, s2, and a1 are all greater than or equal to 0. Okay. And so from there, what we can do is we can write our preliminary tableau. And so what we have is what x1, x2, and then we have s1, s2, a1. Now we're using t, not p, so t. And then we have this, and then we're going to have only two, so we can probably get in that space. And so now we have what? A 3, a 1, a 1, a 0, a 0, a 0, and 28. And then we have a 1, a 2, a 0, a minus 1, and then a 1, and then a 0, and a 16. And then we're going to take all those over to that side. And so we'll have what? A minus 4, and then we'll have a 16, and then we'll have a 0, a 0, then we'll have an m, and then we'll have a 1, and we'll have a 0. Okay, so that's our preliminary tableau. And what we need to do is, again, we need to get rid of this in the A column. We need to get rid of that artificial variable as part of the thing. And so we're going to do the same thing as we did last time. We're going to take a minus m times that second row in this case plus the row 3, and that's going to be our new row 3. Okay. So let's put this over here. I think we'll have room. X1, X2, S1, S2, A1, T. And then we have this. And now we're going to have S1 and then A1. And then this is going to be our T. And so now we have the first two rows will be the same, and we just have to add in that third row with the m's changing. 0, 0, 0, and 28. And then 1, 2, 0, minus 1, 1, 0, 16. And then minus that plus that, so that's going to be a minus m minus 4. That's going to be what? A minus 2m, and then plus 16. That's going to be a 0. That's going to be an m because of minus m plus m. And that's going to be 0. That's going to be still our 1. And that's going to be what? Minus 16m. All right. So now we have this. And so we can start with this one by finding where our pivot element is and then doing some of our first things. So our biggest negative, well, this time we have 2 times 10 to the negatives, times 10 to the 6 rather. And so that's going to be our biggest negative. And so we're going to have to take for our quotient 28 divided by 1, and that's 28. We have 16 divided by 2, which is 8. So that's our smallest. And so that is going to be our pivot element. So that's going to be 1/2 row 2 is going to be our new row 2. If we take a minus 1/2 row 2 plus row 1, that's going to be our new row 1. And now we need to get this to be here. So if we take this times, we need a positive m, but we need a negative, and 2 times 8 is going to be that, so it's going to be times 8, and that's going to be times row 2 plus our row 3 goes to our new row 3. Because this 2 times that's going to be 2m minus 16. And so then that would cancel and that would get us to 0. So that's what we want to do. And with that said, let's go ahead and move over here. Oh, now I guess I didn't write down who's entering and exiting here. So this one is entering. So now I know it's going to be in this one. That one's exiting. So it's S1, X1, or X2, sorry, X2. So we have up here S1, X2. We still have our T. We have X1, X2, S1, S2, A1, T, a line. There we go. And so now we're taking minus a half of that second row plus that. So that's going to be what? 2.501, 1 half, minus 1 half, 0, and then 20. This will be, we're just taking half of that row. So that's that. And then that's 8. Now we're taking m minus 8 times that row plus that row, so that's going to give us what, a minus, a 12, a 0, a 0. That's going to be a positive 8. That's going to be an m minus 8. It's going to be a 1, and that's a, what, a minus 128. Okay. Now, what we have to do is we have to figure out where the biggest negative is. Well, that's going to be, guess what? That one. So this is going to be our entering, and now hopefully it's going to be this one's going to be the exiting, but we'll see. So we're going to take and find our quotient again. So we'll take what 20 divided by 2.5. So that's going to be time. That's why I just divide 4 times that. So it's going to be 8. Then we have the what 8 divided by a half, so that's going to be 16. And so that one looks to be the smallest, so good. That's where we're going to do. So that's going to exit. So we'll then have x1, x2. So let's write that x1, x2, t, x1, x2, s1, s2, a1, t. Now, what are we going to do? Um, 2.5. So if remember how that works, that's going to be 5 halves. So if we take 2/5 row 1, that's going to be our new row 1. And I'm going to suggest let's stop there and then we'll just have an extra time we have to figure out what to do because going with all that's going to make things a little complicated. So let's see, what's that going to give us? That's going to give us a 1. And then we're still going to pivot on this one because we haven't done anything else to make the rest of them 0. So 0, that's 2/5. That's 1/5 minus 1/5, 0, and that's gonna be 4 times 2, so that's 8. And that's still a half, a 1, a 0, minus half, a 1 half, a 0, and an 8, and a minus 12, a 0, a 0, an 8, and minus 8, a 1, and a minus 128. So now we can say, okay, let's take a minus 1 half row 1 plus row 2, and that's my new row 2. And I can say 12 times row 1 plus row 3, and that's my new row 3. Now, I'm going to see what that gives me, and I'm going to write it over here because if I write down here, I'm going to write into that thing. So then we have x1, x2, s1, s2, a1, t. And that's going to be my x1, x2, and t. Now hopefully this will all fit. 1, 0, 2/5, 1/5, minus 1/5, 0, 8, minus half plus that. That's going to give me a 0. That's going to give me just the 1, minus 1/5, minus 3/5, 3/5, 0, 4. That gives me a 0 and a 0. And then that's going to be what? 24/5. Oops, fifths, not fourths. And that's going to be what? 52/5. It's going to be m minus 52/5, 1, and minus 32. All right, so that gives us this problem. And so now what we're going to do is what? Well, now notice that this is a negative 32, but remember what we said over here, max t is equal to a negative p. So what we have then is max t equals a negative 32. And so that's going to give us a min p is equal to what? The opposite of that. So that's going to be positive 32. And that's going to be at what? X1 equals, and that looks like an 8. And an x2 equals a 4 because that's where x2 is, that's where x1 is. The opposite of that, so max t is that, and then remember that's a minus min p, and so if we change the signs, we get this, and then we just get that from our table, and so that then is our solution for the minimization problem. Now, hopefully, I've saved enough space to do the maximization problem, because now what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, well, now we want to max p equals a minus 4x1 plus 16x2 and subject to, and now it's going to be a 3x1 plus x2 plus, now we're going to add our slack variable s1 equals 28. We're going to do the same thing here, x1 plus 2x2 minus S2 for the surplus plus A1 equals 16. So we're going to have to subtract MA1 here. And again, X1, X2, S1, S2, A1 are all greater than equal to 0. Okay. Now we're going to get our preliminary tableau. So let's write it over here. So this is our preliminary. And that's going to be what? X1, X2, S1, S2, A1, P. And this is going to give us a 3, a 1, a 1, a 0, a 0, a 0, and our 28. And this is going to give us 1, 2, 0, minus 1, 1, 0, 16. And that's a 4. Yeah, and then a minus 16, and then a 0, a 0, an M, a 1, and a 0 when we take all those to the other side. All right, so again, we have to make that a 0, so we're going to take a minus M row 2 plus row 3, and that's our new row 3. Okay, so that's going to get us our initial tableau. And so that's going to be x1, x2, s1, s2, a1, p. And so then we have an s1, an a1, and we have a p. Okay. And so now we have a 3, a 1, a 1, a 0, a 0, a 0, a 28, a 1, a 2, a 0, a minus 1, a 1, a 0, and a 16. And now we have a minus m, and then plus 4. We have a minus m, and then we have, oh, wait, there's a 2 there. Minus 2m. Better write that so I can read it. Minus 2m, and then it's a minus 16, and that's just a 0, a 0. Oh, wait, that's going to be a m. Looking at the wrong rows here. That's going to be an m. That one's going to be the 0, and that one's going to be the 1, and that's going to be a minus 16m. Okay. So the biggest negative, that looks to be that one because it's 2 times the 10 to the 6th. And so what that means is we're gonna have to look at the quotients for that column. So it's gonna be a 28 divided by 1, which is 28. And we'll have a 16 divided by 2, which is 8. So it's gonna be this one's the smallest. And so that means we're gonna have to work with that. So we're gonna take what? Minus 1/2. Row 2 plus row 1 is our new row 1. We'll have to take a half a row 2. That's my new row 2. And if I take that row and take it times m and then plus 8 times row 2 plus our row 3, that's our new row 3. That should make that go to 0. Okay, so I think that's everything we need there. So that's our initial tableau. So that means this one is entering. This one is exiting, so it's S1, X2. So that gives me S1, X2, and then P. And we have X1, X2, S1, S2, A1, P. And so now I had to take uh half of this row. So let's do that row first. That's going to be what? A half, a one, a zero, a minus one half, a one half. Oops, not 11 halves. A one half. There we go. Zero and half of that's going to be eight. And so then if I just take that now and add it to that, that's going to give me what, a five halves, zero, a one half, a minus one half, a zero, an eight. No, wait, 20. Sorry. It's a two, 20. And then I have to take the m plus 8 times that plus that. So it's going to give me what? A 12, a 0, minus 8, m plus 8, a 1, and that's going to be a positive 128. All right, well, the biggest negative here, there's only one, is that one. Guess what? It can't be this one because that's negative, so it's going to be the one above it. So that's going to be our pivot point. And so this one is going to enter, and this one is going to exit. Okay. And how are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to have to take a 2 times row 1, and that's my new row 1. I'm going to have to take row 1 plus row 2, and that's my new row 2. And if I take, it looks like 16 times row 1 plus row 3, that's my new row 3. So we didn't have to do a quotient because there's only one possible way to do that one. And so if we move to the next line, that means we're going to have what? An S2, an X2, a P, and we have X1, X2, S1, S2, A1, P. And I had to take what 2 times that row, so that gives me what five, a zero, a two, a one, a minus one, a zero, and a 40. And add those two rows together, so that's six, so that's three, that's a one, a zero, a zero, a zero, and 28. And then I'm taking 16 times that row, so that's going to be what? 8 times, wait, 16 times row 1, 8, 40. 40 plus 12 is 52. Okay, 52. I was getting all confused here. 0, and then 16, and then 0, and then M, and then 1, and then 4, and then 4, 8. Okay, so this, all positive, so we can stop. And so now the max P is what? 448. When what? Well, it looks like X2 is going to be 28. S2 is going to be 40, and so it means when x1 is equal to 0 and x2 is equal to 28. Those are the two key pieces. And again, this one also says that S1 is equal to 0 and S2 is equal to 40. So those are surplus and slack variables. But then the key pieces, when you plug it back into the original problem, are we need x1 and x2 to make the max P equal to that 448. All right, so that's another problem done. So let's stop there and we'll come back for some more.